Good morning, my renegades. Welcome back to Rogue Radio. It is season 4 premiere of Rogue Radio itself. We're gonna start off with something very deep called the pedophiles. But before we get into that, I just want to thank all of the 77 countries that are listening. I'm humbled. I'm so grateful. Even when I have times where I don't want to record or I don't have time to record, y'all still show up for me. We got Nepal. Nepal is listening, and Nepal, that's crazy. Like, one of the 77. So I'm gonna go ahead and name off these countries if it'll let. Okay, so never mind. Spotify for podcast won't let me do it, but I will post it on Instagram. All of the countries that we have gotten so far. It's nuts. There are 77 of them. Once again, I just thank you all for listening. Even if it's a small snippet of what you've heard from me, whether you liked it or not, I just thank you for stumbling upon me. I'm just touched. I really am. But yes, we are going to be starting the first episode of season 4 off with the first episode of Quiet on Set. So I'm going to talk you guys through what I had seen, what I have heard, what I have found out, and you guys can be the judge whether or not Nickelodeon is evil. To be honest, I think they are. But anyway, let's just go ahead and get into it. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, feel free to contact me in the links down in the description below. Contact me on Instagram, YouTube, whatever. Because I really care about you guys. Thank you so much for listening. I am so happy that you guys have stayed for 4 seasons already. That's crazy. What's wrong with y'all? Anyway, okay, we're gonna go ahead and introduce this whole chaos. Yes. And just a heads up, if you guys actually want to watch the episode and not hear me talk, you can get it on YouTube for about $8. You get all 4 episodes, and I don't know if you'll get the coming up episodes. You might. You should. But those 4 episodes are just full of information. So we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna walk you through the first episode. When I first heard that the cast of the Nickelodeon productions of all that, The Amanda Show, and Drake and Josh were coming forward to talk about what they have gone through on the Nickelodeon set, I was like, finally, I have spoken about the crazy stuff that Dan Schneider has done on this podcast in 2 of my older episodes of the pedophiles, and I knew that the investigation wasn't over. There are so many actors and actresses that have not gotten the chance to talk about what they have gone through because they've either gotten paid off or threatened. So I just hope that this docuseries ends up encouraging those people to come forward and stuff like that. So I'm gonna walk you through each episode in case you can't buy it. His obsession with kids and feet go far past that, and it's not just the children who suffered, which was news to me, because one of the questions was, why aren't the adults coming forward in any of this? And this kind of answers that question for me. It's also the production writers, the crew, and the stagehands that had to endure the wrath of Dan. And the first episode is all about the crew and how they felt by also being victimized by this man. All credit goes to the producers of this docuseries, and if you really want to know in depth of what has happened on set, I suggest you go buy it. It's I know it's on different platforms. I know it's on ID as well, but I had gotten it from YouTube. It's just easier for me to access, and for standard quality is about $8, which it's affordable, which is great. The show starts out with the era of the 90s and how Nickelodeon was ahead of its time for child entertainment. I remember watching Nickelodeon all the time. My favorite was The Amanda Show, Drake and Josh, and Hey Arnold. There is no denying that there are adult jokes in each show that was produced, and the writers that came forth start talking about the toxic environment that he had created on and off set. We all know about the adult jokes that Dan snuck in for Ariana Grande squeezing a potato, saying, "Come on, give me the juice." I'm sorry to laugh at that. It's just so ridiculous to say from my own mouth. But yeah. The fact that one of the episode of Victorious was dedicated to the teen cast being stuck in an RV in bikinis and sweating, Ariana Grande getting squirted with water by tons of boys in the same episode, the jokes and adult themes started long before Victorious, and it just escalated after every new show. Dan Schneider started out as an actor and climbed his way to the top from there, with small roles, and then at some point he elbowed his way into the writer's room, and when this happened, he started getting the attention of Nickelodeon. He co-wrote the show, The Head of the Class, which is an old, I want to say, like, 80s, 70s movie, not movie show, sorry. And he ended up getting recognized from there. Nickelodeon pitched the show, All That, to Dan, and he started producing the show, writing and casting all the young actors. He ended up kick-starting the fame of Kel Mitchell, Kenan Thompson, and Amanda Bynes, along, of course, with Drake Bell, Victoria Justice, what's their names? I mean, of course, Ariana Grande. And Jeanette McCurdy. There we go. Katrina Johnson was one of the first of the favorites of Dan Schneider on the set of All That. One day, she gets a call from the show asking if she would like to have her own show. Dan Schneider presented himself like he was a big kid and had such a playful demeanor and behavior around everyone. And behind closed doors, the crew found out right away that there was a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde type of personality to him. Leon Frierson was given the role called Noseboy, which was just a superhero boy with a big nose. Quiet on Set doesn't talk about this, but the fact that an African American boy was portrayed with an exaggerated nose does seem like it may have racist undertones. And I think one of the main reasons why they decided not to address that is because that's a big claim. You would have to have a lot of proof for that. But the fact is that people have been, like, the last episode of season 3, I talked about blackface and how it should not be done at all in show business, because we don't have those limited resources in order to portray an African American person. We can hire someone in show business as African American to, portray someone who's African American. The problem is that right now Dan Schneider had hired an African American boy, exaggerated his features, and put him on set. And this is one of the things that they did not address. Like I said, they would probably have they would probably need a lot more proof in order to, like, make that claim, so I understand that. But aside from that, Leon was young, and he was going through puberty at the time, and the suit was just spandex and underwear, which kind of made him uncomfortable. There were 2 big noses sewn to the shoulders of the costume, like epaulets, and they looked like balls and dick. I mean, I'm just gonna be blunt. It looked like a penis. Most of these kids were too afraid to speak up because most of the time these kids were bringing in the dough and supporting their own families at the time. So they didn't want to complain or act out for the sake of financial stability for their families. And that's the problem, I feel like, for kids in show business, that, you know, a parent will see their kid successful in the show business, and they're like, well, I can quit my job, my kid's gonna take care of me. I mean, maybe this is just coming from a middle class woman, working class. I don't think that's right. Just because, what kind of example are you setting for your kid when they have children? I don't understand that. Jeanette McCurdy had gone through a whole lot. She had just, published I'm Glad That My Mom Died, which is her autobiography on, everything that kind of went down on the set of iCarly and Sam and Cat, and how her mother treated her, and everything. It was just not okay, what she's gone through. And there are so many things that she probably hasn't talked about because she was so afraid. I'm pretty sure Jeanette has a lot of things that, she probably has kept in the vault for a very long time. But she has kind of talked about, like, her struggles and her enduring problems at a young age. So she's kind of done that on her own, and I didn't expect her to be on quiet on set, just because she did all that stuff on her own. Like, she ended up talking about all that on her own. She didn't need a platform. She knew what she's doing. But another incident happened with Katrina Johnson's parents getting a call from the production saying that she is getting too fat. At this time, Katrina was going through dance classes as well, so the parents didn't know what to do about her gaining a little weight. The production says that we already have a fat one, she can't be the fat one. So, I mean, I feel like that's, I don't know. I hate that. I hate that they said that about a child. I don't think that should have ever been said at all. Just because kids, they will go through puberty pretty fast when they hit it, and there's no telling if they're going to gain or lose weight, or get tall or stay short, get freckles, all that stuff, get a deep voice. It's unpredictable. So the fact that they got mad at the fact that she was probably hitting puberty at this time and she was gaining a little weight, that hurts. That hurts my heart for her, because puberty is unpredictable and you can't predict what's gonna happen to the child. You either make it work or you don't, and they didn't want to make it work. But yeah, that's terrible. Then she starts going through puberty. Okay, so that was before she started puberty. But then she started going through puberty, and now she looks more like a woman, and the producers freak out, and she gradually gets edged out of the show. This is when Dan Schneider discovered Amanda Bynes. Yeah, so he discovered her at the Laugh Factory, and I feel like most of us know this story. When Dan saw her at the Laugh Factory, she was casted on All That, and she became the star of the show. As she got to be a part of the show, however, she wouldn't always be with the cast on set or in the schoolroom. She would be with Dan, writing and pitching ideas. This child, she's a child, I don't remember how old she was at this time. But we all know, all us 90s kids know how young she was. She was in the same room alone with an adult male pitching ideas. We know how creepy Dan Schneider is, and God knows what happened to Amanda Bynes. Like, now, like, she has gone off the deep end. Her parents have, put her through conservatorship. I could talk about Amanda Bynes and what she's gone through, and I will defend her through and through, because Dan Schneider fucked her up. He fucked her up so bad. And I don't think it was just him. I think it was her parents. I think it was the people around her, her handlers, her people. They all wanted her to be a certain type of woman. And after all that, after all the movies that she had done, she had body image problems. She had perfectionism problems, to the point where she had defaced herself, to the point... It's terrible. It's terrible what happened to Amanda Bynes. I feel like she's one of the worst cases, that one of the worst victims of Dan. Like, she had gone through so much. I honestly don't think she's gonna talk on Quiet on Set. I would be very surprised if Quiet on Set produces an episode of her in it. Because right now, I don't think she's in a... I know right now she's in a state of recovery from like, compared to the news now and then. But I don't think she's ready to talk. Right now, she's just recovering from everything. But yeah. No. She's gone through a lot. She's been hurt so much by this man. But there was always supposed to be a parent or guardian on set at all times for the kids. As they acted and got ready for the show, Amanda's dad was very hands-on, which was a contrast to the other parents who were standoffish and let the team take control while they watched. The cast believed that the father kind of used Amanda as a wind-up doll and used her vicariously to live through his daughter, to live his dream as a comedian. And he was also very close to Dan as well. When Amanda joined the show, Katrina started getting less and less time. Less time with Dan, to the point where she had no time at all with Dan. After she had been dropped from the show, she went to college for a year, and, that year, she had found out that the Amanda Show had come to fruition. The show that used to have her name on it, but now it was given to Amanda. Now she was the new favorite. The Amanda Show was her big break, and it was Dan's as well, since he was mainly featured in the credits as the producer. This was when the female writers started to come into the docuseries to explain their experiences with Dan. At this time, there wasn't a lot of creative jobs in TV for women at the time, so it was rare to see a woman in the writing room or on set producing. Christy Stratton and Jenny Kilgan were hired to be writers on The Amanda Show, and from the beginning, they both shared a salary. That's illegal if you guys didn't know. 2 women sharing a salary is illegal. So these women actually split a salary so that it could look like there was only 1 woman working in the writer's room instead of 2. Dan discovers Jenny in a comedy writing forum online, and he hires her to be on The Amanda Show. Both women actually recall Dan saying that women can't write funny, and challenged them to name one funny female writer. So not only is he just a disgusting pedophile human being, he's also misogynistic. Anyway. Dan even asked if it was okay to refer to them as the girls while they were in the writer's room. They both agreed, and he says, "Good, because I can't stand women who are uptight about things like that." See, I feel like, I don't know, if it were me and another woman, despite all of the, experiences that they had, if I was just new in a writer's room, working, or even in just a different workplace, and the boss comes over, and he says, "Hey, can I call you and this person, the girls?" I'd be like, "Yeah, sure, that's fine. That's not a big deal." But the fact is that he had to explain himself and say, "Oh yeah, I'm glad that you guys aren't tight about that, because, I hate women who do that." I'm like, you could have just left it there, dude. You just had to be an asshole, I guess. But of course, we all know that Dan Schneider has been born an asshole. Jenny had started realizing that there is a right and wrong answer to his questions. Going back to the adult jokes in the show, there was a persona created for Amanda called Penelope Taint. Taint. I don't think I have to explain how gross that is. You guys don't know what that is? I don't even know if you are a kid listening to my podcast, turn off my podcast, please. What are you doing? Oh, wait. All the adults, okay? We all know what a taint is. And back in the day when I was a 90s kid watching The Amanda Show, I didn't see that as a problem. Because I didn't know what a taint was at the time. But now that I do, it didn't actually register how gross that was until someone on this set, on this show, on this docuseries, had talked about it. I'm like, that is nasty. That is not okay. But yeah, that's terrible. This joke was actually spoken about in the writer's room, and even made Jenny and Christy promise not to say anything. So it was an unlikable inside joke for the writers, and so any of you 90s babies who heard Amanda say, "I'm Penelope Taint," she was a little girl saying a word that she didn't even know the meaning of, which is fucking creepy. Dan used to play pranks and jokes on the cast members of the team, and that at first seemed quirky and fun, and then gradually got worse and worse. He would send a message to one of the team members demanding them to say something random, like screaming the word hammers, and then it would get gradually more and more degrading. Screaming, "I'm an idiot," or "I'm a slut," and he wouldn't let up until either of the ladies or one of the team members said what he wanted them to say. Dan had once dared Christy to eat 2 pints of ice cream for $300, and she agreed, because, like I said, Jenny and Christy had shared a salary, and they didn't make a lot on the set. So making $300 eating ice cream, it just seemed like a good opportunity at the time because she had rent to pay, she had bills to pay, all of that. So, yeah, Christy agreed. And, yeah, she ate it and got sick afterwards, but he never paid her. Yeah, that's terrible. She was splitting his salary with another woman, writer, and, yeah. Another time, he says he'll pay $30 to the person who kills the fly in the room, and Christy speaks up saying, "Should I put it on your tab?" In a jokey way. He takes her into a room and gets angry, saying, "How dare you accuse me of not making good on my bets?" Hey, Dan. If you bet something, you gotta shell out the cash. Dumbass. I'm sorry, I keep saying that I'm not going to, cuss on my podcast anymore. But stuff like this makes me angry. Why can't you just be a decent human being? Anyway, Dan asked Jenny if she conspired against the production about her and Christy's split salary, and she denied it. She even goes on to say that she had gotten worse that he had gotten worse and worse as time went on, threatening her that she won't work in TV again, and showing porn on his computer screen. Jenny recalls the many times she massaged his neck and shoulders as well. He would say things like, if she did this, he would put her sketch into the show. And he would say in a jokey way, but deep down, he just wanted to see how far he could demean these team members. So I think it's safe to say that, specifically, Dan Schneider didn't just have a child foot predilection. I don't even like saying fetish, because fetish, I feel, is like a little bit more innocent than a predilection. Like, you have a fixation on children's feet, sir. But I don't think it's just that. I think he also has a humiliation fetish, and that actually kind of fits the bill with him making these team members do whatever he wants, which is not okay. Anyway, Christy and Jenny recall the time in the writing room that they were talking about their high school stories, and Dan spoke up and said it would be funny if you leaned over the table and act like you were being sodomized and told that story. And so he begged her until she did it for him. I don't need to tell you how perverted that is. And I cannot imagine how uncomfortable Christy was doing this either. Later on, they did find out that it was against the rules for writers to share a salary, and Dan had to pay both the women separately. He ended up firing Christy and keeping Jenny on so that he didn't spend so much money on two female writers, but he had told her to work 11 weeks for free for the second season, which made no sense at all. Dan had called her into the room to say, Dan called her into a room one day full of male writers, and he asked her to pitch an idea for the show, and as she did, he interrupts her out of the blue, asking if she did phone sex. She denied it, of course, and egged her on, trying to convince the men in the room that she had phone sex as a job before she came to Nickelodeon. The gall this man has in order to demean women. I don't understand how he's married. I really don't. But anyway, The whole situation stressed her out to the point of tears. And that was the last straw for her, and she quit that day. She was heartbroken, and she had to quit something that she liked to do. Despite all of the abuse, despite all of the humiliation, she actually liked writing for the show. And like I said, this was a big opportunity for a woman to be in the writer's room on set of a show, especially a very famous show like The Amanda Show. But Jenny calls Christy, and she tells her that she has decided to sue Dan for gender discrimination. She asked Christy to write a letter on her behalf, as she did. And Jenny started to hire a lawyer, and she blew the whistle on Dan finally. The things that were claimed against him were sexually hostile environment, the exploitation of only 2 female writers, denied equal pay, porn, simulating sexual encounters from the rear, illegal retaliation. The court did an internal investigation and they settled, and Jenny knew that she would never work again in TV, so she wanted her efforts to expose Dan to be worth it, but he continued his toxic tirade on the numerous Nickelodeon sets. This was the beginning of the worst chain of experiences for the children who worked for Dan Schneider. That was the first episode of Quiet on Set. That's all the information that I can give you at the moment from that episode. Oh, Hopper! Hopper, have you been listening to me? You guys hear him? Chirp, baby. Hi. Hello. I need to give him some bread, but anyway, thank you so much for listening, and I will see you in the trenches next time.